Welcome back to Muppet Sunshine. Just allowing my screen to warm up a bit so I can get all what I wish to discuss. Sorry, I'm a little illiterate here. I have been so busy researching over the Epstein case, and I have more questions than answers for you. And what I find critical about this interview is that it really highlights the difference between a person who's a co-conspirator, who's been led to believe that she's led us to believe that she's a victim of Epstein. She was 16, she was saying at the time, when in fact this interview tells us exactly more details, and it's insightful. So I wish you to, sorry, I don't think you could hear me. I wish you to see this interview and ask yourself, is Anushka Di Giorgio a victim or a co-conspirator? I am certain that she knows of this interview. I'm surprised that she hasn't talked about this. This has been a month and I have heard nothing. So I'm going to try and play it today for you. Okay, hang on, give me a minute. I have got it up here, but I'll look it up again. It's not allowing me to put anything up here. I'm not sure why. Or
Africa?
It's probably about 3:30 in the afternoon. Hence, I was awake. It was like 1:30 in the afternoon.
It's not easy being on a plane for 24 hours.
That, to be honest, the TSA was more interesting. The questions.
Oh, is that right? Welcome to America.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you, Samantha.
I'll try.
You want me to call you Sam or Samantha?
I'll try and speed it up a bit.
Sam's fine.
Sam. So, Sam, you have a very interesting, very different story than all of the other Epstein victims that I've interviewed. And you're not even an Epstein victim, really.
No.
What Samantha knows about Anushka is very interesting. And I want you to watch this in its entirety with me, if you can, or go over to Soft White Underbelly and watch it for yourself. I really wish this guy all the luck in the world. He's put victims up, he's put witnesses up, and it's critical for us to realize these things, that sometimes it isn't a victim, it's a conspirator. I have views on Virginia Giuffre now that I feel they do encounter him, but it's not how they're telling us, you know?
No,
You are just a good friend of.
of an Epstein, claiming to be an Epstein victim.
Yeah, and I think I'll just let you unfold. Let the story unfold.
I live very far away. I live in Africa now. And my husband has a habit of leaving the television on. So usually I wake up to turn it off, but usually I have to find the remote between the dogs and the cat, and, you know, as you do. And I woke up to this television blaring, and I saw Lady Victoria Hervey on the television with Piers Morgan. Now I'm trying to find the remote, which didn't seem that simple that time of the night, you know, dark and dogs, cats. As I'm looking for the remote, Victoria Hervey says to Piers Morgan, and then the likes and the caliber of women like Anushka de Gorgio. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, you know, I'm half asleep, but now I'm awake.
I'm just going to check.
And now I'm poking my husband to wake up because, you know, what is going on? You know, I haven't heard that name in 29 years. That's a long time, especially with someone who you had a very, very close friendship with. Now I'm waking him up at 3 o'clock in the morning and he's not quite there. And then I'm telling him, like, you've got to watch this. And he's like, what is going on? I said, well, I don't know, because Piers Morgan is supposed to be uncensored. It says uncensored, but now he's shutting her up and she's not able to finish her sentence. So the very next morning, obviously you can't stop messaging people at 3 a.m, very unsociable hours. The next day, I contact her and say, what is going on? Like, what were you about to say? You have to finish that sentence. I want to know what you were about to say before Piers had stopped you. Then she informed me that Anushka has claimed that she is one of the Epstein survivors. Now I'm asking her for dates because I'm thinking, you know, she's saying this happened, obviously, with some of the things I Googled, and I just did a quick Google, and the dates seemed really strange to me. So obviously she filled me in on what had been going on, and she said no, she gave evidence of testimony at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. I said, okay. And I'm still thinking, like, these dates just don't add up, because during that time we were friends for, you know, a number of years. So I then obviously did a little bit more homework. I contacted Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney. I told her who I was. I said to her, I was friends with Anushka during the period of 1995 to 1997. And we had spent significant time together. And her attorney said to me, you're one of the missing links. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said to me, well, we couldn't find people around that time period that could, you know, vouch for where she was.
And just realised the time period she said was Epstein was between 94 and 96. And she was wrong. And
that's what she was doing. I thought, okay. So I said to her, well, I'll write down a brief statement to my time with her, things that we did and where she was living. I gave her a home address. I told her what she was driving. I gave her names of friends that we had, mutual friends at the time. And the picture, and then she sent me something interesting. She sent me the testimony that she'd given in court. And when I read that, I thought it was a joke. I didn't even know what to say. I was so dumbfounded to how she could even stand up in a court and blatantly lie to everybody. There were bits that I took out of that testimony that I knew weren't true. She makes comment of, well, this happened in 1994. And she went to Ghislaine Maxwell's house. I was okay, kept reading. Then they had a photo of her. It's marked as Exhibit 109. So obviously, I asked Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney, now, is this Exhibit 109? Exhibit 109 was of Anushka holding a dog. Now, I'd been to Anushka's house plenty of times in Eaton Square in London, Belgravia, during that time. I have dogs. House, there were no dogs. There was no dogs in 95. There were no dogs in 96. So halfway, obviously I ended the friendship, which we'll go into later. I had no dogs in that house. Not one dog barked, not one dog came to the door. There were no dogs. So that picture already sent alarm bells for me, because they asked her in that testimony, is that you around the time that this happened? And she answered yes. But the other thing that...
But the photo doesn't necessarily mean it was her dog. It was just a photo with a dog.
Well, I did think that to start with, but then I know her mother and I know what she looks like and I know her name. So I obviously went onto her Facebook, because I'm thinking, I know her mom would have probably posted pictures of the dogs. I did find pictures of the dogs in February. It was February 2nd, 2015. Now we're talking 94 when she's making these claims. I have dogs is incredibly slim. Almost, I looked at the percentages. It came up like 0.0 dogs would survive.
There were 2 dogs in the photo.
There were 2 dogs, but they got the dogs together. They got the dog. And in this photo, she was holding the dog. So I'm thinking to myself, I haven't seen her in 29 years. I'm looking at this photo, but she also doesn't look like she did in 95, 96. I mean, you know, people develop, they mature, their features change. And that photo looked more when she was older, you know, more towards the end of our friendship. So I would say that photo, absolutely, there was no way that that photo was taken in 94 or 95, because I remember what she looked like when I first met her and what she looked like when at the end of our friendship. And she had changed, you know, facial features, her body. There was a lot of changes during that time. And seeing that photo, it didn't ring true for the time period that she was trying to place it at. So now I'm looking at the photo, and obviously that's already got my mind going, thinking this isn't right.
Last year, the Palisades fire tore through Los Angeles. Most people saw that story. What fewer people saw is that 2026 is shaping up to be the worst wildfire year on record globally. The total
And one of our friends, he's a photographer, or he was a photographer back in the day. And he knew Anushka from the time that Anushka was 15 years old. And I actually met him through Anushka. And this is the same photographer whose house she would dance around naked in. There's only one guy that was a photographer whose house that she did that in. And we had a long conversation. And even so, he said to me,
it's just red flags and alarm bells coming in, you know?
I've seen it, but it's not possible. And I scroll past very quickly. And the one thing that sticks out to me that he said to me is that I don't know why she's doing it. And that was the one thing that I also...
What I really, really find hard is that there is an Epstein fund for victims. With Epstein no longer being alive, we only have Maxwell. And it just makes me wonder how many are telling the truth. Because this lady feels, and I really am myself feeling, that a lot of these people who are standing up, trying to be these rock stars and that, are not telling the truth about their time with Epstein. Just not. Lisa Phillips as well, she's another one. Sorry to blow your bubble, guys.
I was thinking, when I was starting to look into this, I don't understand why she's doing it. And obviously, as time goes, to a point where a lot of people, I understand why this has got to where it's got to, because nobody had the history or the starting point. I had the base, so the foundation of Anushka, because I personally had a friendship with her, and been around her, so I knew her routines, I knew her insecurities, I knew all those things because we were close friends. And I had somewhere to start. So now having somewhere to start, now you're building on the pieces that may be missing from later. But at this stage, all the friends that I have spoken to from that time have all said the same thing. So we're all singing from the same hymn sheet here. We're all saying, okay, well, we knew her. We also knew that she hadn't just disappeared somewhere randomly for maybe a day or two. Now, my brain overthinks things. Now, I know when I saw Anushka, I knew the time that I spent with her. Now, my brain's thinking, maybe I missed something. Did she just get on a plane to go to the States or an island overnight or a day or so and we missed it?
Were you seeing her like every day?
Mostly. So the times that I didn't see her would be like a Sunday, because I would be time with my family and I was still studying, but I was doing sort of remote studying. So I would catch up, on a Sunday. That was a great time to do that. But I would see her Monday to Friday, even a Saturday, if we went out to a club, we would meet up, we'd go clubbing. And so most of the time, and this is what I need to explain to people about Anushka. This suggestion of that she had this bustling modern career, which they report on in the media, that is so untrue. 100% 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 untrue. I wish it was like that for her, but it wasn't. You know, it wasn't like she had lots of modeling jobs coming in. She didn't have the kind of modeling career that she's.
I'm not sure why my computer isn't charging right now. So if it goes off, guys, I will be back later. I am very sorry if it does, honey.
Portraying or wanting people to believe. Initially, it was very ordinary looking. She was bored. And I actually sent you the message where you heard what one of our friends said. And he describes it exactly as I'm describing it to you. She was bored. She was lost. She didn't really have any sort of direction or where she was going or what she planned to do with her life at that stage. Anushka just wanted fame and fortune. She didn't worry or care how she got there. She just wanted fame and fortune. That's what she wanted. Her parents were quite well off, but I don't think she was like getting lots of money from them to do the things and the partying and the other things that she was into at that stage. So we would go for lunch, usually Chelsea's Farmers Market, Orioles, mainly around Chelsea. We would go out to clubs in Chelsea, pubs. We did a lot of that. And look, when I first met Anushka, she seemed nice. She seemed pleasant. But as our friendship went on, I realized that she wasn't the innocent girl she was portraying to be. I saw lots of drug abuse. I saw her manipulate men into giving her money, drugs, and she would almost do anything to get drugs from these guys. I mean, sexual favors, things that were just not normal. And it's actually quite sad because, you know, she had so much opportunity. So she had opportunity, but she chose not to. The thing is with her as well, you know, I think she had issues, you know, daddy issues. I'll go into that a little bit now because we would go out clubbing and she wouldn't go for guys her age. She would go for men who were substantially older than her. I mean, I'm talking men that were older.
When I got to this point of the video, I've got to be honest, I was taken in, you know, by what this lady's saying. And I do believe that. I do really, you know. Got to call these people out.
Not to be my father or my grandfather, which I found really odd because, you know, she wasn't an ugly girl. She's quite a pretty girl. She's very, very petite, very small framed, and quite short. She always wore heels. I don't think Anushka even owned a pair of trainers at that stage. So she'd always wear these really high heels, quite short skirts, and always a jacket with shoulder pads. Now, the thing with the jackets and the shoulder pads is that Anushka was very, very flat-chested. And she was incredibly paranoid about how flat-chested she was. And she would always wear these, you know, that she was so flat-chested.
There's a reason why she said this, by the way.
I know that it was something she was very, very paranoid about. So she would almost overdress, you know, to cover up, you know, her cleavage. I find it really strange, though, in her testimony where she states that she met Ghislaine Maxwell in 1994. And she says in her testimony, she actually wore her mother's clothes. Like, to say it was the first time, almost sounded like it was the first time she had done that. That was not the first time. Anushka always wore her mother's clothes. And I always said to her, but you're dressing like you're in your 30s and you're a young woman, but you're dressing like you want to be older. And I found that's always so bizarre because in the testimony she states, I was.
You'd always get that one friend that sees right through you. And definitely this woman saw right through Anushka, you know.
I went to Ghislaine Maxwell's house and I actually put my mother's clothes on to make a good impression. So that also drew my attention because I'm thinking to myself, I know for a fact that she wore mother's clothes all the time. So Ghislaine Maxwell at her house in 1994. I heard about any of this. I'm sitting on the other side of the world. I'm oblivious, or I had no interest in the Epstein files. I have no intention of reading them. The only things that I've read is with regards to, you know, in that testimony when I read the 1994 thing as well, obviously the night long she's claiming now she was part of this or in this orbit of refer, and it said 6 years. Thinking now, you know, your brain is now going to know that 95. I knew her 96. I knew her 97.
How old was she in 95, 96, 97?
So when I met older, actually a month shy of being 3 years older, 2 months shy of being 3 years older than me. I was 15 when I met her. She was almost 18 when I met her. She was 18. And so, yeah. So now I'm doing the math, okay? And it's, when something really bothers you because you're going back 30 years. It's not like it was yesterday or a year or so ago. It's 30 years. So I'm doing the math and even got my fingers like, okay, so I knew her then. But this would take you to the middle of, or almost the middle of when she's claiming all this stuff has happened. So obviously I didn't know her in the 94 when she first made the claim that this had started happening to her. But now I'm looking at 95 and I'm thinking to myself, did Anushka ever get on a plane or disappear for like maybe even a day or two that she didn't say anything? Now I'm phoning my mother. So my mother's much older now. And I said to her, you remember my friend Anushka? She goes, oh God, not her. Yeah, her. And she says to me, well, you knew her. And she could tell me when I knew her because of things that she was kind of dragging me into at that stage. So she didn't like her much at the time. So now we're both sitting there trying to do the math. And I think I'm not going crazy because every time I'm trying to justify that she could have, gone to the States or gone to an island, I keep going back to the fact that, but she wasn't gone long enough. Now I'm trying to think, okay, well, when you travel, you have to be at the airport. If you're doing an international flight, you have to be there 3 hours before the time. Then it's another 10, 12 hours to the States, and then you still got to spend some time there and get back. She was never gone for more than an 18-hour period where I didn't see her. So I'm trying to justify it in my own head that maybe this could have happened. But then I'm thinking to myself, but it can't, because there was never, ever a time where I didn't see her long enough that could have happened, So this is now where I start making more phone calls, and I hear from more people the same thing. They know about it, but they don't want to get involved because they say Anushka is quite vengeful. So I said, I can understand this. But I still had a conversation with them nevertheless to, find out, have we all missed something? But when you've spoken to that many people and everybody is saying the same thing, but how is this possible? Because we also saw her. You know that you're onto something. Then I make more phone calls to, Maxwell's attorney, and I'm saying to her, but I've spoken to my friends now, and we're all saying the same thing. We can't see how this has even happened, because not one of the people that I've spoken to have even got a slight doubt in their mind that they've missed something. They know because they also have the same feeling I have. And then she sends me a document that says that, Maxwell didn't live she didn't actually buy Kinnerton Street, 44 Kinnerton Street, until December 19th. Thinking something doesn't add up here. That clears up all the craziness that's going in my head, the craziness that's going on in my friends' heads, because they're all scratching their heads thinking, because they didn't know. She used an alias of Kate during the trial. No one's going to put Kate with Anushka. Not in a million years. Why is she even making this claim? Because we were all there. I don't know if Anushka thinks we were all dead or we were just deaf and blind, because at some point when she came out with her name, people were going to find out. Did you not realize that this would travel across the world? At some point, we travel, and people would find out. It took us a while because obviously we weren't aware that Kate was Anushka. But once we found out, obviously it was a shock to everybody. But after you get over the shock, you start doing the pieces, the puzzle pieces. And they just all neatly fitted in, the puzzle, all these little pieces. So the 94 story, we could say, well, from, like I said, my photographer friend, from another friend of mine who's also a photographer who took pictures of us on multiple occasions.
Now, so
also said,
the rest of it,
there's no way.
Go on to...
Then I read further, and this is the bit that actually upset me. She's taken, Anushka was nothing she did, never outside or in the gym. They didn't take me to the hospital. They took my clothing. I was there for weeks and weeks. They were the ones that gave a gag order in the police station. So the police had allowed them to come in.
There's something very bad, and I wish you to understand this story, actually. I'll go back here.
For us to meet up that night, and I was upset with her because I was thinking, why was I even there? We were supposed to be meeting up, and this has happened. The police dragged me to the police station for almost about 8 weeks. Every single day, they were taking me for whatever reason. They didn't take me to the hospital. They took my clothing. I was there for weeks and weeks. They were the ones that gave me the pregnancy test. And I wasn't like Anushka. I didn't sleep around. I didn't have multitude of men that I'd had sexual relationships with. We were very different in that way. She was, as many of my friends keep telling me, flighty. Well, I didn't quite describe it as that, but they say flighty, so let's use that. She was with a lot of men, a lot of time, all the time. I was the total opposite. I remember when he told me it would all go away, like nothing would come of it. Well, his words were actually nothing would come of it. The police aren't treating this like it was a rape. It's like they're trying to kill time. He then serves me with a gag order. So now he's already raped me, violated me. And now they're taking away my right to decide, or my human right to decide what I want to do. I was never asked. I was forced into having this abortion. I was given no choice. I was told there is no choice. I was in such a state. And the one person who you think you could